Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, released in theaters, I believe May 21st. We watched it. Me and Wade are a little late to the game. Jacob watched it opening weekend, right, Jake? Or you
Yeah,
watched it that
yeah,
week
on like
of.
Tuesday.
First week, yeah.
And we were a little late to the game, but we want to still cover it for our people, the our fans at home. We know you guys love the Cruise man. He is the bomb. He is the masterclass of all action. I would say he's he's his
Definitely
own
up there.
stunt man.
Yeah.
I feel like he needs to die in a stunt. I feel like he needs to go down in a blaze of glory somehow. Guys, let's get into this. Let's break it down, beat for beat, and what we love, what we don't like, all the above. So,
Sheesh, this was a pretty dense movie. I don't know.
can we
I don't know
break
if I
it all
remember.
down?
I don't know if I remember all the beats.
Dude, so much happened. It was
This movie was nonstop.
it was like 2 hours and like 45 minutes. So
No, it's 2 hours and 50 minutes. It's almost
Yeah.
3 hours of
Wow.
nonstop heart palpitations.
it did do that to you, and I came out and my pits were like all sweaty. I was like, dang, I was like sitting there,
Yeah, I felt
perspirating.
I felt
really
my heart
like
rate,
anxious.
during the credits. I felt my heart rate and it was up, and I was like, it's probably been like this for a while.
Oh man.
Well, guys, how did you feel about the very beginning? It was very fast paced. You had the beginning scene.
Beginning was awesome because
Yes.
he gets his mission on a VHS tape, and I was like,
Yes.
and he pops it in there, and it's like on a, and then at the end of the thing self destructs. So I was like, way to represent VHS,
Nice.
and that'll come up
Nice.
later too. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. So
I liked how it dove right in because even this originally was Dead Reckoning Part 2, and I think they are afraid of Part 2s at the movie theater. Hence, Wicked, For Good, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
Yeah.
But something I really liked Dead Reckoning Part 1, Dead Reckoning alone, I guess. But boy, that movie, since it's Part 1 of 2, has double the setup and double the exposition. And I'm glad I rewatched it before this one because this movie just goes right into it and says, hope you're caught up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
seriously.
let's break this down a little bit. I found an article that's going to help us do this a little bit more professionally, boys. So let's jump into this. The first act of the movie, we have global panic and the president's ultimatum. The film opens with U.S. president summoning Ethan Hunt to demand the surrender of the cruciform key, the entity. A rogue artificial is introduced in the previous film, and it has escalated its cyber attacks. It's causing worldwide panic. It's destabilizing global infrastructure. And this key is believed to be the only means to access and control the entity. So, guys, that was kind of the beginning.
Yeah.
That key is super important. He's always almost dropping it, almost losing it. And I think in that last movie, right? It's just like, oh my word, it's getting stolen.
Just moving around so much, yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that's kind of the beginning a little bit and how serious it is. And the stakes of this movie are just so intense the entire time. Even you've got the villain from the previous movie, and it's Gabriel, correct?
Gabriel, yeah.
And he is kind of working for the entity, kind of wanting, like, basically.
I think he thinks he can control it.
Yeah, now the entity dumps him at the beginning of the movie, so now he's out for himself to control the entity. So, that was my actually favorite part about this movie was I loved the beginning of Dead Reckoning when you think the entity is alone the villain, and it tricks Benji into saying his voice so it can learn his voice, which it then uses later to trick everybody. But then the movie kind of shifts to Gabriel as really the villain, and he's the mouthpiece for the entity, and he pretty much is the villain of Dead Reckoning. But once him and the Gabriel and the entity split at the beginning of this movie, the entity gets to be its own villain, which I thought was really cool. It even gets to have a conversation with Ethan at one point, which was at the start of the movie, which is over the top and just all
he
the right
puts the
ways.
mask on and it talks to him and it tells him, like, this is what's going to happen because I've ran all the information.
Yeah.
And it shows, like, him dying in the ice, and I was like, dang, that's kind of interesting. So yeah, we get that.
Then he tells him that he's going to lose someone close to him.
which gets into our next part. The shifting alliances in the Padkova revelation. Ian and his IMF team. We got Benji, we got Luther, we got Grace, and they embark on this mission to locate the Padkova, a clandestine data vault. It's rumored to be the house of the entity's source code, complicating matters. And so we see Gabriel, this former ally of the entity, seeks control of the AI. In the process, though, Luther is creating that chip to plug into, to harness the entity into the Padkova and then to kill it, or to kind of harvest it so it can't be.
Yeah.
It thinks it's active, but it's not anymore, basically, right? To make it useless. But Gabriel takes that thing from Luther, kills Luther with the bomb. Tom gets to have his final moment, or Ethan Hunt gets to have his final moment with Luther, which that was very sad because it felt like Luther and Tom Cruise. It's been throughout the movies, right? When was
every
Luther
single
introduced?
movie?
Every single movie, right?
Yep.
Or when did Luther get introduced? In the first one?
I think he's in the first one.
He is in the first one, yeah.
And it was very heartfelt. This movie really got me with the heartfelt moments, actually. The last one did not. This one, I was like, dang, I am feeling like the heartstrings being pulled,
I'm a big sucker for big epic endings. Endgame, Return of the King, and honestly, this one's up there. Like they did super well with the emotional beats as well as like the epicness of the scale.
And tying it back to movies that were previously somewhat unrelated.
Yes, exactly.
And
like the random things like, oh, he steals this thing, he doesn't know what it is, this fluid or whatever, and it ends up being the source of the entity. It's like crazy things like that, like great writing.
One thing Luther says to him really stood out to me before he dies by the explosion. He's like, what are we going to do? Go fishing? You know what I mean? This is what we were born to do. It's just like, dang. And I was thinking at the end Tom Cruise was going to be fishing, which we'll get to. I thought like he was going to be done, but he's born to do this. So they just end it very ambiguously. So we'll get to that. But any final thoughts on Luther's end?
Made me sad, man.
Yeah,
I'm so glad he also gave like the message. We'll obviously.
Oh
later.
yeah, the message.
That was a great wrap in at
to the IMF, basically, almost right. Yeah. This next part, we have this high stakes pursuit, basically, which is a classic, Mission Impossible thing. They traverse multiple continents: England, Malta, South Africa, Norway. This is crazy. Just like at one point, Tom Cruise is at the bottom of the ocean. An hour later, he's on top of a plane, like running around. And I'm just like, I lean over to Wade and I was like, dude, because I know from the trailer, I'm like, dude, Tom Cruise is going to be on top of an airplane.
Yeah, when he like jumps in the water, we're like, okay, he's got to be at an airplane eventually here.
So basically, he is arrested, right? After the explosion, he's taken into the president, right? She secretly gives him the mission to go and do this impossible task. Get rid of the entity so the entity can't blow up basically the world, right? Basically wants to set off the nukes of every just a classic action movie. All the nukes of every country.
It's slowly gaining control of them.
But what I like is that there was a lot of weight behind it too, where it was smart to focus on the president as a character. She was returning from Fallout. She'd previously been the CIA director. It was smart to focus on her as a character because it would have been an empty promise of like, yeah, we're going to set off all the nukes. Here we go. If we just don't see the consequences, but through her eyes, we get to see, yes, these people are going to die. This is going to happen, and that helps the entity's plan feel a little bit of weight through that character. So that was
for sure.
That was a really smart subplot to add in because it shows the real importance of Ethan, what he's doing and the insane timetable that he's on. I mean, they're counting down their watch like hours, and he's like jumping into the Arctic. I mean, just ridiculous timetables.
Yep. And there was one little thing I've noticed throughout the movie. They keep referencing the president's son who's in the military, and they keep saying like, we're doing this for the people we'll never meet. And they keep showing like family members of different people like just living their lives, you know what I mean? And then like by the end it's a satisfying thing of like, we're doing this for people we're never gonna get thanked for this. we're just gonna do it because everybody would die, So that is kind of interesting to think about. So yeah, so he's gotta go. He's gotta get to the into the water basically to get down to that the sunken ship from the previous movie, the submarine, right? And get the Padkova that's in there, the thing that he can put the cruciform key in, correct?
Yep.
And not necessarily disarm it, but
get the source code.
The source code, yeah. Which crazy plot device, but it felt like I can't remember the James Cameron movie where they're in the water. What's that movie?
The Abyss.
The Abyss. It felt like that, where it's just like stressful. The people can't breathe. There's different stressful situations. Me and Wade were laughing the entire time.
Because that trope in movies where they're like, oh no, things are going so bad it can't get any worse, and then it gets like a little worse, and they're like, oh no.
Yeah, and the ship's rolling
to the max. It was like, okay, it cannot get worse, and then it's like, oh. The submarine's tipping off a cliff going down to the abyss, and he's like even sliding around in there. Then the torpedoes are in there like bouncing around, and he's like trying to dodge them. The ship's filling up with water. He's got to crawl through the tube where the torpedo goes out, which is like claustrophobic. But to do that, he's got to take off his suit. And then he's got to go in there, and then as he's trying to swim out of there, his suit gets taken by the falling ship. It's just like, oh my god.
And it's like sub-zero temperature where his body will shut down as well. So that's another aspect.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that, but then it was a good piece of acting from Tom Cruise when he took off the wetsuit and was like, ah!
Nice,
the water's that cold.
Yeah,
oh man, dude, it was really stressful. But on top of that, his friends had to make it to the similar location to his coordinates.
Oh, we didn't even talk about this aspect.
With the pod to shrink, to decompress him or whatever from the pressure.
The decompression pod, yeah. We didn't even talk about this subplot of Benji and Grace and this other random character, but also the one character. She plays Mantis. What's her name? Pom Clementief's character.
Yeah.
All of them kind of working for the IMF now. She's switched sides a little bit, I'm assuming. They have to go to this other spot to find the location. They don't know the exact location.
To get the coordinates of the ship.
Coordinates, yeah. Then they got to send them to Tom Cruise so he knows where to go.
But at the same time, Russia is trying to get them from them as well.
Yeah.
Yes, dude.
And they burned down the house on accident. And there's a bunch of VHS tapes in that building.
Oh yeah,
they have they're watching movies on VHS, and so it's really tragic when it's burning down. And I was like, no,
there goes Cars. No,
Cars too. But Wade, the craziest thing of that was this subplot of the guy who was at the house who knew about all the stuff. He knew the location.
He knew the sub,
and he knew the sub, and he's been working there, and it turns out he's the guy who gets fired in the very first movie.
Dude,
because of Ethan Hunt's actions of basically taking the drive from the first movie. He does return it, but the guy from Langley gets fired, and you never see that guy again. He's just like, he gets fired right in the movie. I'm pretty sure
he gets sent to Alaska is what they said. And,
yeah.
He's grateful actually because he never would have met his wife, and he's there at the end to help, which is so crazy.
That was so good.
Without that happening, it never would have happened. And it's not even like a bad thing that turns into a good thing. He thanks Ethan. He's like, never would have met my wife. I never would have had this awesome life.
Yeah.
Just
and he
really
gives him the knife back. He gives him the knife from the first movie.
I think it was funny. His house is burning down. And he's like, I gotta grab that knife for Ethan Hunt.
He's like, this scene will be awesome. Trust me.
Yeah.
My favorite part, and it was kind of in this sequence, I was telling Wade about this, was when they didn't know whether or not the secret submarine was going to be coming to get him, and they're trying to wait there for a couple minutes, but they get the warning from the Russians, and they're like, we have to go now. And Ethan just decides, leap of faith. He says,
he just jumps in the water.
Either they're going to be, he says, I'm going to die either way. Either they're not.
Yeah, he just jumps.
They're not here, and the whole world dies, or I jump and I die, and the whole world dies, or they're here. So he goes for it. That was an awesome moment. Really cool character beat, and that was, I think, then the next, the whole submarine scene after that we talked about was just coolest part of the movie, and until the last hour when there's another coolest part of the movie.
Well, we've skipped over even a lot, even the stuff in the sub, with the Navy SEALs and all that. Like, dang, there's a lot. And
dead.
Tom Cruise is running in the submarine, and he's just freaking ripped, with the mask, and somebody attacks him in there. They want to kill him, and
that's the funniest scene. He's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I don't understand. Why are you attacking me?" He's like, he's so confused. He's like, "What is going on?" The commander of that submarine, Severance fans were pretty happy to see the actor who played the commander of the submarine. He's one of the breakout stars from Severance. So seeing him turn up in a movie was really exciting for me.
Cool.
So, yes. So and then we get into kind of South Africa plot, correct? Am I correct?
Yeah,
what
that's
am
the
I
end
missing?
of it. The final stretch when they get the stuff.
Yep.
Ethan gets the thing from the sub,
but they got to get to Gabriel, who has the flash drive.
In South Africa they have like this world info center or whatever that's got all
that
of
can't
the data.
It won't be destroyed in a nuclear fallout. Yeah. That's right. So he goes there basically, right? Because he kind of thinks he can control the entity.
He thinks he's going to ride it out from there. Yeah, he thinks he's going to rule the world from that vault with the entity while using the entity.
And so there's the conflict of interest with the government. They go there kind of stopping Tom Cruise from his plan. You know what I mean? Of kind of letting Gabriel have the drive, basically. But things go awry with. This was another crazy subplot. This movie's just wild, like tying up loose ends from previous movies. The villain from the first movie, I think is it John Voight, right?
Yeah.
His son, not in real life, obviously, but just his son in the universe works for the government now. He thinks Tom Cruise is this rogue guy who set up his dad, basically.
Yep.
So I thought that was kind of a cool little subplot as well.
Well, and that's a cool subplot too, because the character Jim Phelps, that John Voight played in the first movie, is the main character from the original TV show Mission Impossible in the 80s.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't John Voight on the TV show; it was a recast. But Jim Phelps is like the main character of the original show, and so that's a cool.
People were mad about that. Apparently,
they were.
People were so mad.
Well, even the actor who played Jim Phelps in the original Mission Impossible show for 10 years hated the movie. One, because they didn't call him to do it, and then he was like, I'm glad they didn't call me because my character would never
tarnish
do that.
his reputation from the show.
Dang.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a controversial thing.
90s controversy.
Yeah, but I liked that the movie got to end on a note with Ethan Hunt and Jim Phelps Jr. shaking hands. Felt like a full wrap up of everything Mission Impossible, not even just the Tom Cruise series, but the old TV show too.
So cool.
Which I've never seen. I'm sure it sucks, but I mean it's probably. The 80s.
We get that shootout in South Africa below, right? And people get shot. What's his name? Which I felt like Simon Pegg's character was not in this as much as I would have liked, but it's okay. I understand they have a lot to cover.
I thought he was a goner for sure, though.
Well,
at the end of the last movie, he shows the bullet hand. Yeah,
and I thought they added random characters in there. It's like they don't need to be in this, the random guy who like why is he in this? Like I feel like Benji just should have been in it more and he had more lines instead of just
Part of me wonders if they want to make another Mission Impossible movie, probably with a different leading star. But if they want some of these characters like Pom Clementive's character or Degas, because he had been Jim Phelps Jr.'s partner, and then he defected and joined them. Remember? So part of me wonders if they want his character and her character to maybe be in the team of a new Mission Impossible movie.
Oh,
that way there's some continuity, but Simon Pegg.
Maybe they'll have Jim Phelps the third, and it's the son of that guy,
sure, right?
And it's who it's got to be, Glenn Powell, because that's what Tom Cruise said. He said he would only give the franchise to Glenn Powell. He literally said that, which that's kind of weird.
That's funny.
Yeah,
they were in Top Gun Maverick together, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking is they were in the movie. I mean, obviously they had little arcs in the movie. They had little story beats, But part of me wondered if they put him in there as a bit of a future proofing, maybe 10 years down the road when they want to make a Mission Impossible without Tom Cruise, they can pull a couple characters and say, here's some continuity.
Yeah.
I hope they don't.
Yeah, so, they got that bomb that's going to go off in that place in South Africa, the place that cannot be destroyed. But Tom Cruise has got to go after Gabriel and put the drive in the thing, the Podkova or whatever. So he follows him on the plane. He jumps on the red plane. The yellow plane has got Gabriel on it. He takes the red plane, jumps off the red plane onto the yellow plane.
I watched how they did it. Dude, he's insane. He had he had a rope, like a wire attached to his back, but he actually jumped from it was like a helicopter above it that had just the red painted on the bottom. But he actually jumped down and grabbed the yellow plane. From the top. He's insane, dude.
Man. I love it.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way. He actually jumped down no, he went up. He grabbed the plane and pulled up.
Wait, I watched the video you're talking about, and they were saying, too, they were like, did you have a parachute during that stunt? And he's like, no, it was too dangerous. Too dangerous to have a parachute. Because he's like, if it deploys, the plane will crash. It'll.
Well, that's true. If it deployed while he was on top of it, he could have gotten snagged or something.
Yeah, so he had no parachute either, which is just
my gosh.
So good.
But dude, it made for an awesome scene. I mean, Cam and I both went yeah when he punched Gabriel.
He punched Gabriel. We were
it was such a good punch.
It was satisfying. And it was a long scene, he's just rocking around at certain points. They're just trying to figure out how to
controlling
get
the wing from the actual wing.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Jim.
I was just gonna say in the trailer. The trailer for this movie was kind of low key. It wasn't really actiony. It was very solemn with kind of orchestral music. And they were showing clips from this final action scene with the two planes. And just with the slower music and just kind of the speed of the biplanes, I really found myself thinking that's it. That's the big stunt they're going for, 2 biplanes. I think the trailer did a disservice because the scene was just electric. And the fact that we know the planes flying were 100% real with very little CGI, just to remove wires and stuff. It's just awesome. It was an incredible sequence. Yeah.
He obviously gets it done too. And it's wild. The fact that they can write some of this stuff is the fact that he has to plug it in. They have to, on the other side of South Africa or wherever they are, she's got to plug the thing in, hit the button, and then take it out in 1 millisecond.
It's cut the wire and then in 1 millisecond.
That's right.
Yes.
And she's a perfect pocket picker, so pickpocket, as they say. And they get it done. They save the world. Nobody will ever know. Just in time, except the president obviously knows. They dismantle the entity. It thinks it's still in control, obviously, but it's just in a little flash drive for them to keep forever. And Ethan Hunt has it in a little box, and it's just glowing orange. So classic. And I think it was funny at the end, with Luther's message just starts playing. Obviously, very heartfelt. And the son shakes his hand. Jim Phelps Jr. shakes his hand. It's just dang. And he just keeps doing what he's doing, They all meet in England. I think that's England, right at the end, where they're just nodding at each other,
Yep. That's
and they hand him the entity, and they're like, "Good job," basically. Everybody's alive. He's just gonna keep doing it, and we just might never see him again. I don't know. Is it over?
I kind of like that idea that instead of killing him off in some big action scene, which would be fun, IRL. I like that. It ends with the kind of idea Ethan Hunt is still out there doing what he does best, and we'll never know. Like you said, that's kind of the message at the end, and I think that's cool.
Dang, yeah.
It's like the Big Lebowski. The dude abides. I take comfort knowing that he's out there.
Exactly. He's out there saving the world. We don't know. Wade, how'd you feel about it at the end of the day? Did you get some heart palpitations, some heartfelt feelings?
Oh, yeah, all the above. This movie hits every note. Some good comedy, some good crazy action, some over-the-top action, but
you obviously have to suspend disbelief a little bit. There's some things it's just there's no way, and also he would have died being that below in the ocean, I guess, right? There's just no way, but
probably.
I just love it so much. I just loved this movie. The last one was very lackluster for me, but the previous I loved 3, I loved 4, I loved 5. They were just so good, like banger after banger. Last one was kind of not as good for me, but this one was kind of felt like it was a return to form. I think they shouldn't have done the two-parter idea. I know they kind of
you had to have the full setup though for this movie,
True.
They had to have the full setup on the entity and the key,
Yeah.
It's just the first part suffered a little bit because it didn't get to have a true ending. It had an awesome action sequence at the end, but it didn't really get to wrap it up. So it just suffered a little bit more from all the setup and no payoff. But this movie was all the payoff that we wanted from it.
It really was.
Yeah, I'm almost sad it took 2 years because I think this could have been an awesome close back-to-back release. But I'm glad we got it anyways.
True, dude. Well, guys, any final thoughts on The Final Reckoning? Anything else you guys want to chat about?
It's just I've seen these movies on the big screen since the 5th one, I think, and it was always just so much fun. And Tom Cruise has his creative partners, like Joseph Kosinski and Chris McQuarrie, and these
Chris
producers.
McHugh.
And they've worked on stuff together, they were involved in the new Top Gun 2, which was I kind of had this feeling. I was like, this is what going to the movies is about. I am seeing something big. I'm seeing something special. Yeah. I felt that way the last couple of Mission Impossibles. I felt that way during Top Gun, the new one. I like the movies that him and his team puts together because they're really cool. Cruise, bona fide weirdo. I'm sure he's a scary human being in real life with all his weird beliefs, but boy, can he make an awesome movie. And apparently I think him and Chris McQuarrie are working on something else now. I forget, they announced it unofficially, but him and I think it's actually him, Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill teaming up with them again. They're working on a movie, so I'm just telling you, they're gonna make that movie. But in seat, I can't wait. Just what an awesome filmmaking team.
It's gonna be cool. Awesome, guys.